Picture a room crackling with noise and movement. One person enters and immediately commands the space, shaking hands, telling stories, and drawing every eye. Another finds a quiet spot on the periphery and simply observes. We are naturally inclined to assume the person in the center of the noise is the one moving toward success. Our social structures are built on the idea that visibility and charisma are the primary indicators of ability. Cultural writers define this as the extrovert ideal, a modern tendency to mistake high-volume social activity for genuine competence. However, history provides a different perspective. Many of the breakthroughs that defined our understanding of the universe came from the quietest minds. Consider physicist Albert Einstein, who frequently sought long periods of solitary reflection to develop his theories. This pattern of quiet achievement repeats across industries. J.K. Rowling utilized her preference for solitary work to build one of the most successful creative franchises in literary history. These examples suggest a striking paradox. While our social systems reward the loudest participants, many significant milestones in innovation and wealth are anchored by those who rarely speak at all. It is often assumed that successful introverts reached their positions by overcoming their personality, as if they succeeded despite being quiet. Psychology reframes this entirely. Introversion is characterized not by a fear of social interaction, but by a biological preference for lower levels of external stimulation. For these individuals, success aligns with their neurobiology. Their internal systems are naturally adapted for the specific demands of the modern knowledge economy. The difference between the outgoing and the quiet is anchored in how their brains process neurochemical signals. Extroverts primarily use a fast, direct neural pathway fueled by dopamine. This neurotransmitter drives the reward-seeking center of the brain, requiring constant external stimulation and social feedback to maintain high energy levels. Introverts rely on what researchers call the long pathway. This complex route is fueled by acetylcholine and is directly connected to the parasympathetic nervous system. This pathway triggers a rest and digest state. In this mode, the brain focuses on inward reflection, data analysis, and long-term memory retrieval, rather than reacting to external noise. This specific neurochemical profile supports a biological capacity for deep work, the ability to maintain focus on cognitively demanding tasks for extended periods. Mastery in any technical field requires deliberate practice. This involves thousands of hours of intense, isolated training designed to address specific flaws in one's skills. Because extroverts generally find prolonged isolation draining, they often abandon solitary practice for social interaction. Introverts, however, find solitude energizing, allowing them to accumulate the hours necessary for high-level expertise. Steve Wozniak relied on absolute solitude to develop the foundation of modern personal computing. That uninterrupted focus resulted in the Apple I computer, a machine designed and assembled in a space where no one could distract him. Bill Gates took this even further by establishing Think Weeks, retreating to a solitary cabin for 7 days at a time just to read and process complex code for Microsoft. In a world of constant digital distraction, the ability to sit quietly and work through complex problems provides a distinct professional edge. These biological traits also influence financial strategy. Introverts naturally possess a high baseline of cortical arousal, meaning their internal state is already highly alert. This high baseline makes them cautious decision-makers. They are often more interested in calculating risk through data than in following dopamine-driven market trends or social hype. Warren Buffett embodies this strategy. He built one of the world's largest fortunes by staying in a quiet office in Omaha, reading financial reports far away from the emotional noise of the stock exchange floor. By listening more than talking, introverts leverage their perceptual sensitivity. They notice micro-expressions, logical gaps, and subtle details that impulsive participants often miss. Sustainable wealth is frequently built by making fewer, better calculated moves, rather than seeking the social status associated with constant, loud activity. There is a persistent belief that effective leadership requires a loud, dominating personality. However, a Wharton study found that introverted leaders often achieve better results when managing proactive, highly motivated teams. These leaders tend to deprioritize their own ego, choosing instead to listen deeply and absorb information. This approach creates the psychological safety necessary for their team members to execute their own ideas. Effective leadership often moves away from demanding the spotlight, prioritizing the quiet space required to hear and implement the best ideas from others. Everyday introverted habits, like maintaining a small inner circle and avoiding performative social media, are actually strategic ways to protect cognitive energy. Compare this to the energy required to sustain a specific social image or chase the immediate rewards of a crowded social schedule. While much of the world focuses on building a visible image, those in the quiet corners are often busy compounding their skills, creating a measurable lead in actual value over time. Introversion is best viewed as a specialized biological trait that excels in environments requiring deep focus and patient observation. If you are naturally quiet, lean into your solitary focus. Trust your habit of observing before you act. The loudest voice in the room eventually fades, but a quiet mind, focused on creating undeniable value, produces the kind of work that truly lasts.